Hello everybody, I'm Keshav Malpani and welcome again to 12 Minutes to Clat. Today I'm back with another very important topic and a very recent topic, that is the Tauktae cyclone that has hit the western coast of India. Okay, so this is not the first time that a cyclone has hit our country, but in this session we are not only going to talk about the Tauktae cyclones and other cyclones in general, we'll also talk about the legal aspect of it. Okay, so follow me till the end of the session to understand as to what kind of legal knowledge question can be asked out of these particular cyclones or calamities like these. Okay, so Tauktae cyclone, as we know, is at the western coast of India. So we know that to the south of India we have the Indian Ocean, towards the east we have the Bay of Bengal, and towards the west we have the Arabian Sea. So the main reason for these tropical cyclones, okay, tropical cyclones का मतलब होता है that these are certain cyclones जिनकी characteristics are very heavy winds, very heavy rainfall, okay, and these cyclones generally happen in areas wherein there is very high temperature in the water. Okay, so what's happening due to global warming is that the temperature of the Bay of Bengal as well as the Arabian Sea is rising rapidly. Okay, every year there's a very high rise in the temperature, and due to which these cyclones are happening every year in India now. Although the people who are from western coast, they do not see a lot of cyclones, they see only one on an average every year. But if India has 5 cyclones every year, out of which 4 are on the eastern coast, which is in the Bay of Bengal. So we generally listen and generally see in the news that mostly cyclones happen in the state of Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, or the other eastern states that are there. But every year there is one cyclone that happens on the western coast also, and one of them in 2021 is Cyclone Tauktae. So in the last 4 years, there have been 4 cyclones in India on the western coast itself, that is from the Arabian Sea. Okay, first one is the Cyclone Meccano, which hit Oman particularly. The second one is Cyclone Vayu in 2019, which hit Gujarat. The third one is Cyclone Nisarga, which we saw last year in Maharashtra. And in 2021, it is Cyclone Tauktae, which has majorly hit Maharashtra and Gujarat, but it came to Rajasthan also. Okay, so I'm sitting in Rajasthan, it actually went over my house as well. So yeah, that is the case this time. So generally cyclone does not come to Rajasthan. It is generally confined to the coastal states in India on the western and on the eastern side. So a major doubt that most of us have is that these cyclones have such weird names. Okay, Nisarga, Tauktae and all of that. Now, how do they get these names is a very important question that we should ask ourselves always. So there is something called a World Meteorological Department. Okay, World Meteorological Department has said, or it is given in their regulations, that every cyclone should be named by certain countries in that region. Okay, so the cyclones that come to India, there is this region called North Indian Ocean region, okay, because we fall to the north of Indian Ocean. So it's a group of 13 countries. Okay, those 13 countries includes Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Myanmar, Oman, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE and Yemen. So basically these are 13 countries that falls in our region, in India's region. So this time this name has been given by one of the 13 countries in our region, which is Myanmar. Okay, so Tauktae actually means gecko. Gecko means that in Burmese language. Okay, so in Myanmar they speak Burmese language. In Burmese it means highly vocal lizard. Okay, in Hindi it means बहुत ज़्यादा बोलने वाली छिपकली. So it means highly vocal lizard, and that is the name that has been given to this particular cyclone this time. Another very important thing to understand is that cyclones or storms are called by different names in different regions. Okay, so if you go to North Australia, they are called by the name of Willy Willy. In Southeast Asia and in China, such calamities are called typhoons. And in North Atlantic region or Eastern Pacific region, such calamities or such kind of cyclones are called hurricanes. So you have to keep these things in mind because these are some very important questions that may be asked. So we also know that the cyclones are generally predicted by the Indian Meteorological Organization or various other meteorological organization, because pata chal jata hai with the atmospheric pressure or the pressure in the respective sea or the ocean that there is a cyclone that is going to come. Now cyclone are classified in 4 categories on the basis of their intensity. Basically वो कितने intense होंगे, वो कितने ज़्यादा affect करेंगे हमको, उस basis पे they are classified in 4 categories. The first category is the severe category, which ranges from 48 to 63 knots. The second category is very severe category, which ranges from 64 to 89 knots. Third category is extremely severe category, which is 90 to 119 knots. And the last category is super cyclonic storms, which ranges from 120 plus. Okay, everything from 120 to more than that falls under the fourth category. So the cyclone Tauktae was actually predicted to be in the third category, which is extremely severe category. However, we got saved and it was later taken to the second category. Basically, it was in the very severe category. Now, a major thing to understand is, okay, these were certain facts about the cyclones or Tauktae cyclone for that matter. Now, what is the legal scenario here? If you had looked at the CLAT 2020 paper, you should have seen that there was this one question in the legal reasoning section on force majeure. Okay. Now, what is force majeure is something we're going to discuss, and how is it related to this particular cyclone is something we need to understand. Okay. So force majeure is, we all know what act of God is, right? Act of God are those calamities over which humans cannot do much. Flood, earthquake, cyclones like these, we have no control over these calamities, and these are called act of God under law. Okay, this is the basic definition. Now, obviously, I will give you a hypothetical situation to understand these situations better. So for example, say I am sitting somewhere in Gujarat and I have a contract with somebody sitting in Madras, okay, or in Chennai. Now, Gujarat to Tamil Nadu, I have to send say 10,000 quantities of a particular product as on a particular date. ठीक है, मुझे एक particular date तक वहाँ पर भेजना है. Now what happens is, before that by when the production is going on, there is a cyclone. Okay, for example, say there was this Tauktae cyclone which actually ruined a lot of things. Okay, it took away my factory. There was some demolition that happened, because of which I could not complete the production in time. There was a lot of loss that happened to me, and there was no way I could have done that production in time. So I could not perform my part of the contract, right? I could not do it. So this, I become in the breach of contract. Now a question is, in this particular circumstance, can the other party who was relying on my promise that I will supply those 10,000 quantities as on a particular date seek compensation from me? क्या वो मुझसे compensation ले सकते हैं? Now to deal with this, there is a section under the Indian Contracts Act 1872 called Section 56. Section 56 दो बातें कहता है. First thing it says that a contract to do something impossible is void. Obviously, okay. So for example, you say that I'll do some kind of magic and treasure will come out of this land or particular land. Now, if there is a contract between two persons like this, it's void because it's useless. It's impossible. Now, second part of this particular section states that any event, okay, or any contract that two parties have entered into, and at the time of entering into the contract, there was a clear possibility, like the example I told you, to supply quantities from Gujarat to Madras or to Chennai in Tamil Nadu. Now that is a doable contract, but what happens is, after you enter into a contract, there are certain circumstances. Due to those circumstances, it becomes impossible for you to perform that contract now. ठीक है, अब आप उस contract को नहीं perform कर सकते हो. Then also the contract becomes void. So in that case, I need not compensate that person because there was no place or there was no situation under which I could have performed my part of the contract. Okay. This particular doctrine is called doctrine of frustration under the Indian contract. Okay. So now you must be thinking, iska force majeure se kya lena dena hai? So again, as I told you in the example, we entered into a written contract, which is a legally binding contract. So जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में एक्ट ऑफ गॉड का क्लॉज होता है ना, देयर आर वेरियस क्लॉजेस की, इतनी क्वांटिटीज रहेंगी उसका क्लॉज होगा, इतने रुपीज पे रहेंगी उसका क्लॉज होगा, इतनी डेट को रहेंगी उनका क्लॉज होगा, राइट? सो देयर विल बी वन क्लॉज that will talk about the act of God events. That clause is called force majeure clause. Okay, so it talks about the act of God events. It lists out what are the act of God events, and it also specifies that if an event like this happens, what will be our course of action? What will be the course of action of both the parties? Okay. Now, at your level, when you guys are preparing for a law entrance exam and you guys are not law students or lawyers, you should not be expected to know something as complicated as force majeure. Now, why was this asked in CLAT 2020 is because it was trending at that time. Even this year, this particular term is trending. So if you had followed the relevant, information about legal knowledge or relevant websites on legal knowledge, you would have definitely come to know about this particular term because of recent lockdowns that we have had. There were certain interstate lockdowns. So same situation में हम फिर से पिछले साल का example लेते हैं. For example, हमने ये agreement 2020 में किया होता to supply certain quantities from Gujarat to Madras in Tamil Nadu. Now there were certain interstate lockdowns. ठीक है, एक स्टेट से दूसरी स्टेट में नहीं जा सकता था कुछ भी सामान, in that case also it becomes impossible to supply that good. Then also it falls under the section 56, which is doctrine of frustration, and therefore force majeure clause can be imposed. So under the new pattern, it becomes very important for you guys to follow these current affairs, or I would say legal affairs also, because unless you follow these things and you've read these things before, it becomes very important to read those very difficult passages in the exam and come to a final conclusion or come to a final answer. So my suggestion is to follow really good websites. Two of them are Live Law and Bar and Bench, but be very selective when you read these things. Okay, be very selective, because those have information that are not relevant to you. So only restrict yourself to the information that is relevant for your preparation. So that's it from my side. If you like our sessions, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any updates from us. Keep liking us and keep following us like this. Thank you so much. Bye guys.